Ethically Questionable is electrified by Polestar, the Swedish electric performance brand created to accelerate the shift to zero tailpipe emissions. Their approach to transparency means every car they sell has a carbon impact report so you can drive with a conscience. All right. Hi, guys. Welcome back to Ethically Questionable. I'm your host, Jamila Brown, and today we have a very exciting episode. It is our very first special live edition of Ethically Questionable here at South by Southwest London with two of my most favorite people in the world, Jenn and Aisling. Say hi.
Hi.
Hi. And Jenn, Aisling, and I, actually, when we were first thinking about what Ethically Questionable could be, used to do this as like a news show. So every week we would get together and we would talk about the most ethically questionable news going on. And so we're very excited to do this special bonus episode today, bringing it back to the feed. Woohoo. Woohoo. All right. So before we get into like everybody's news story, you guys were telling me that you had some thoughts about the whole Everlane drama, which we've been talking about on the pod for the last 2 weeks. So guys, give me your thoughts. Everlane selling to Shein, returning to still radical, ethical or questionable. What do you think?
I mean, well, it's definitely incredibly questionable. Bad company buys good company, basically.
Yeah.
But what I find fascinating is that Shein has given Everlane a lifeline in some respects. You know, it was in so much debt, it was about to close. It has saved hundreds and hundreds of jobs, really. So in some ways that could be seen as ethical. I don't know. What do you think, Jen?
I do agree with that. I mean, we don't want hundreds of people to lose jobs. I think there's already like this kind of focus on job insecurity at the moment, and where am I going to be working next? Where are children going to work? But so saving the company, that's one thing. But I think the other side of it is that in terms of these companies that are building, ethical values and then just selling off to anyone, it just kind of goes to show that all the power still sits with money. And actually at the end, we aren't actually achieving that goal of changing to better business and doing things more ethically, right? So now we've sold this ethical brand to Shein, who's fast fashion and probably the worst polluter in the world in terms of fashion. Exactly. And now what's going to happen to the brand?
Well, I don't even know if we can say that they're saving hundreds and hundreds of jobs. Like, I don't know what's going to happen, right? I've seen loads of companies get bought and then everyone's made redundant, or things are really like consolidated. I guess the bigger question here is what happens when you start an ethical brand and you let private equity and VCs buy in and ultimately take over. It's like that purpose just gets washed away.
And that's exactly what the founder said for his next brand. He said, we're doing it, but with no private equity this time. So we can stay true to our values.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So let's get into the meat of the show. You guys have both brought an incredible, interesting, fascinating, ethically questionable story, news event to share with us. So Aisling, why don't you go first? What's on your mind?
So last night I watched the plastic documentary on Netflix.
Okay.
So it's been on my list to watch for quite a while. Everyone's been talking about it, and I finally sat down and I gave it a watch, and I really enjoyed it. So I've obviously watched a million sustainability documentaries, and I kind of thought I knew what it was going to be, but it was very different because what it's doing is it was basically following, I'm going to do a spoiler alert here.
That's all right.
6 couples who are really struggling with their fertility and can't get pregnant. So one hasn't got pregnant in 10 years. They've been trying.
Oh my gosh.
They can't get pregnant. They've tried everything. They don't know what to do. And as a last resort, they meet with the scientist who's like, I'm going to give you a plastics cleanse. And it means that you can't have any plastic, no bottled water, no Tupperware, loads of things you wouldn't even think about, like your fragrances, huge cleanse. And amazingly, 3 out of the 6 fall pregnant.
That is crazy odds.
It is crazy, right? So 50%. And, is it the plastics? Was it not? They do make the point of it's the study. But it was fascinating to see it's specifically men's sperm, how their sperm improved. So the men had issues with their sperm, and from cutting plastics, their sperm improved.
And while these couples were trying to get pregnant or had been trying for years, did they know that potentially it was the man's sperm that was the problem? Or
yeah, I think they've done lots of testing.
Know,
they've done all the testing.
Yeah.
They've done all the testing, they've tried everything, but they did it was quite scientific. Here's your sperm levels here it is after a certain amount of time cutting. There was 2 key plastics they were cutting out.
I was going to say, is it plastic or is it the chemicals in plastic, right? Because that's the debate at the moment is it's not just plastic, but it's the chemicals that are involved in plastic, like BPAs and things like
100%.
that.
100%. So it's not the plastics, it's the chemicals.
Yeah.
Right? So it's the plastic associated chemicals. And it's interesting because it means that it was the first time I'd watched a documentary that moved from plastics are ruining the planet, these turtles are dying, kind of David Attenborough vibe, to actually our health is being affected. And also your unborn babies are being affected by plastics.
And I think the framing of this as like, I mean, I hate to say it, but like a very first world problem. Like if you've been trying to get pregnant for 10 years in the West, you're probably also going through things like, IVF and, spend lots of money on all this stuff. And it is a very like first world privilege almost to be able to like keep trying and have all these interventions, when actually ultimately the solution is like strip out plastics. And it's something that is a like result of our Western society. Like we've introduced all this plastic, we're now hurting ourselves. And so many times the sustainability conversation is like the issues are being experienced elsewhere, and now they're like in your doctor's office.
Yeah, we're kind of causing the issues on ourselves, aren't we? I read a study, it's like a 2019 study by Newcastle University and WWF, and it says we eat like 5 grams of plastic per week.
That's crazy.
Which is crazy. It's like almost like a credit card of plastic per week. So it's kind of, and maybe it is and is not the same. It is, the study's, a few years old, but at the end of the day, we're ingesting quite a lot of plastic, and it's going to have an effect on our health because of the chemicals.
Yeah.
And I think in terms of, getting pregnant, having children, it's like how much of that plastic is actually passing through the placenta and affecting the children that are being born. Because if you think about, we're told not to smoke or drink while we're pregnant, but we're not told not to ingest plastic. We just, right?
Or to go on a plastic detox, right?
But
like
it's
stop
having
drinking
an
out of
effect.
bottled water.
Yeah.
Like,
and they had a leading chemist who spoke. He was kind of a lead pioneer in chemistry, and he had a son who was disabled and died very young. And he said that made him kind of rethink, like, has something I've touched in the chemistry lab affected my son? And he totally relooked at chemistry and created something called green chemistry, because he was like, chemists at the beginning are not trained on how what they're making is going to affect in the future.
It's not a long-term thinking process, is it? It's
Exactly.
like very short-term, don't touch the thing that'll burn you, but not like, here's the long-term effects and implications of like the work you're doing.
Exactly. So yeah, I found it fascinating. I think it was very much moving from, climate crisis sometimes feels quite distant to making it very real and very current.
Yeah.
So I would definitely recommend everyone give it a watch.
Yeah.
So it's less earth pollution, more pollution of our bodies now, which is really important.
I have a question because I haven't seen it. Were there other, of course there were, but did they talk about other benefits that these couples experienced as a result of the plastic detox?
Well, yeah, they did. 'Cause unfortunately, it didn't work for some of the people. So some people, their sperm didn't improve and stuff, and they were trying to figure out why. But also they were saying how just generally they felt better, and even it meant that they couldn't eat out as much, so you couldn't get takeaway as much because all your takeaway stuff is in plastic, so you have to cook at home. And, all those kind of added value of connection through cooking and re-looking at your life. Really.
But also you're going to ingest plastic in so many other ways, like the carpet,
Totally.
most of our carpets are made of plastic. If you really think of everything, they only kind of thought of a percentage of the solution, and they tried to cut it out, and it seemed to have had an effect.
Yeah.
But actually there's way more around us.
I mean, a big one is the fact that we all wear polyester underwear. So having literally plastic up your ass if you're wearing a thong. Do you know what I mean?
Plastic up your ass.
But it's true.
gosh.
We should not wear polyester underwear. It's so dangerous. It's like getting heated by our bodies in our most sensitive areas.
Oh my gosh, so much to think about. But look, if we could maybe whittle it down for the audience, what's one big plastic thing that you think you could easily get rid of in your life based on that documentary?
I think the biggest one from the documentary is that we all, or many of us, get a takeaway hot coffee in a takeaway cup, and you're putting boiling water into a plastic cup and drinking it. And that is get rid of it.
Yeah.
You bring your own cup.
Yes.
Stop drinking boiled plastic water.
That's
my
true.
God. I think a lot of people don't realize as well that paper cups have a plastic lining on the inside, which means you can't even fucking recycle them.
No, it's crazy.
So they're
isn't it?
not even recyclable.
and also they contaminate the recycling if you put them in. It's basically a plastic cup with paper around it so you don't feel bad.
Crazy.
And then if you put it in recycling, it contaminates the recycling and makes someone has to go and pick them all out.
Yeah. And then they don't recycle the rest.
Mental. So no more takeaway coffee cups, guys.
Yeah.
It's going to save the world and your health. Okay, all right. So Jen, speaking of saving the world, you also have a very interesting story topic to discuss. Let's hear it.
You know, I think it's an ongoing topic. It's not anything new. So we're, talking about the Iran war and fossil fuels. You know, we're so used to talking about fossil fuels, falling asleep, being bored because it's like, end fossil fuels, we can't rely on them anymore. And it's all activists saying it, right? But now with the Iran war, it's kind of sped up how reliant we are on fossil fuels, on, with our gas prices going up, our holiday flights being canceled. No one wants their flights being canceled when they're going on holiday, right? And so now we're seeing in everyday life that our reliance on fossil fuels and our fuel insecurity is a problem. And I think people are actually waking up to it a little bit more.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, if we went to war with Iran and, 90% of our energy was wind and solar, the wind still blows when the war starts. The sun still shines when the war starts.
Yeah.
And we don't have that risk of energy reliance. We're just not resilient enough to get through these wars. Russia caused the first one with, most of Europe relying on their fuel.
Shot our heating and gas prices right up, didn't it, a few years ago?
Exactly. And so it's like, it's one thing after another. And I think people are waking up to it. But to be honest, I think the real thing that's waking people up is that like 13,000 flights globally were canceled last month. And they are sitting in airports. They're not able to go on their, vacations. Like, that's what people care about. And now it's hitting us. So
this is like almost the same thing as the plastic documentary though, right? It's like all of these problems seem so abstract and like otherworldly almost, and like not really affecting us until they do, and now people are like, oh, my holiday.
I think the thing that people don't connect is that sustainability and stepping away from fossil fuels is actually for the benefit of them.
Yeah.
That's what I think the connection that's being missed. Like this fuel insecurity can actually be solved by like a sustainability issue that we're focusing on. But because activists make it so, I guess, seem like so out there or
like
kind of
worthy,
just very woke and things like
well, it was
Not
renewables
woke.
will save the planet, wasn't it? It's like renewables will save the planet. As now it's more like renewables are actually going to help me.
Yes.
Yeah, continue living my best life.
Yeah.
So we're
Which is on
watching gas
holiday.
prices go up. The people with electric cars are laughing.
I mean, I'm having a great time.
Exactly.
Well,
so
this is it, right?
I in the US, they're in California they're over $6 a gallon. In the UK, I'm seeing it go up like 10p per liter every week. It's not a small increase. This is a major increase, and this is going to have an effect on people that drive every day. So when you have an electric car, you're just kind of coasting, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And so interestingly, we haven't released this episode yet, but we did an ethically questionable episode with Frederica Claren, who is the Chief Sustainability Officer of Polestar. And I was asking her, like, are electric vehicles like actually that much better? And at what like stage do they get better? Because I'm driving around in this like, very expensive, very beautiful luxury car. But like, is it because it's, so top end that it makes it that much better? And she was like, absolutely not. She was like, even a second hand, third hand, Nissan Leaf, not to call them, inexpensive, but even an 8,000 pound or 5,000 pound or free electric vehicle is always going to be better and have better results for like you, your life, your finances, the emissions that you're like polluting in your neighborhood where your kids go to school. Like everything is going to be better than than a diesel or petrol car.
Yeah, I mean,
so make the transition.
I've had so many debates with people on electric vehicles versus petrol. They're like, oh, you have to get to 50,000 miles. It's not anymore. They've gotten better. It's more like 25,000, 30,000 at the most.
Yeah.
So electric vehicles are way more efficient. You become carbon neutral at 25,000 miles approximately, depending on the car. But also the other thing is like, we don't sit here and look at every gallon of petrol and what goes into, like, what were the carbon emissions of digging that, oil out of the ground, transporting it through the Strait of Hormuz around the world or wherever it was. So I think that people just need to wake up to, if they see something negative about electric vehicles, I always say to someone, like, where is that message coming from?
Yeah, exactly.
Most likely it's petrol diesel vehicle makers trying to downplay it.
Yeah, or like the oil industry, right? Who want to, who have
They
a
wanna keep
very
their
like
jobs.
vested interest in people continuing to rely on gas and oil prices.
Absolutely.
And it was the same with the plastics detox, where they had the baddies, the big plastic companies, telling us to recycle, being like, you guys need to recycle. If you recycle, then there isn't a plastics problem.
Yeah.
No one can really recycle plastic.
Yeah.
Like,
Also,
so challenging 9%. Like they put the responsibility onto the consumer.
But also plastic is not true recycling, because plastic can't be infinitely recycled yet. That's the biggest problem, is that it's actually just delayed landfill. So you're just delaying the time it takes, because plastic can usually be recycled like a few times and then it has to go to landfill as the quality isn't good enough. So our biggest issue is that plastic needs to be infinitely recyclable, like glasses.
Like glasses?
Glass.
Oh, glass.
Sorry,
is.
like glass is. Yeah, so glass is infinitely recyclable.
And
We need
aluminum,
plastic.
right?
And aluminum, yeah. Aluminium, if you're in the UK. Aluminium. But yeah, so, those can be consistently recycled over and over and over again, but plastic does have an end life. So you're really just delaying landfill. It's not actually a recyclable product yet. The technology is getting there, but it's not there yet.
And plastics and oil.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's made of fossil fuels, right? So we need to find other material
coming
to make
from the
it.
same, the
Source.
call is from inside the house.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, should we move on, or do you have any more to say about this? Any more thoughts?
That was everything.
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating that it's exposing our global systems.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's what's happening. The war is exposing.
And what's the solution in our own life, I guess? Like, I actually think there is one, I don't want to say benefit, but one, really good, consequence of this, which is that, people in the UK at least are thinking a lot more about how they staycation this year. And I think that's exciting. I mean, my family, we were on a fallow year this year because last year we took too many holidays for somebody who works in sustainability. So I felt we need balance. This year we're not going to fly anywhere for a whole year. And so we've been looking at all these amazing places to go around the UK, which I have never experienced before, because normally we fly out to go somewhere. And I think so many more people are doing that this year, which is really exciting.
Yeah, and also be creative about your travel. It's even though we're in the UK, we have something called the Channel Tunnel. You can take a train across to Europe. There's so many amazing things to do if you just think another 5 minutes about how you travel.
That's so true. I got hit up by this really interesting company. Maybe I should get them on the pod, but they basically do luxury train travel.
Oh, cool.
And I am so fascinated. And it's this cool trains with the dining cart and the sleeper and all that. And I'm I want to go on that. And everybody in London always says getting the Eurostar is an infinitely better experience than flying every single time. So
it is. I choose train over plane every time.
Every time. Nice. Okay. Speaking of making choices, I'm going to share my story with you guys now, which is one that I have been fascinated with for the last few days. So I think about 4 or 5 days ago, drag queen and activist Pattie Gonia released a video on social media saying that they have been silent for a long time about an ongoing legal case, but they felt they needed to make it public now. And essentially, it's that Patagonia, the outdoor clothing company, which has actually been heralded as this climate change positive branding company and ethical brand for years, is suing Patagonia, the drag queen, for trademark infringement, I think that's the right term. Yeah. And Patagonia is why the fuck is a ethical company suing me, an ethical drag queen, over a fucking name? Which actually is the name of a region in South America anyways, right? Who even owns this name?
100%.
It's definitely not Patagonia. So they've been going back and forth very interestingly on social media. The CEO of Patagonia has even been on stage more recently and addressed it. And I mean, the debates online are heated. And I think most of the ones I see are in Patagonia's favor, right?
Well, let's have a vote. Who's in Patagonia's?
Well, I'm here for Patagonia, but I think it's probably fair to Patagonia, the company, to go into a little bit about what their issues are.
I used to be a head of brand, so I worked in brand marketing for a long time. So I've read both sides. So I've read the trademark, lawyer side, and I've read the brand side, and then I've obviously read Patagonia's side.
Yeah.
So if I was working at a brand, I could see how you get stuck in that corporate think tank mode. Yeah. That group think where you're we have to protect our brand. If we let one person do it, 100 other Patagonias are going to come out and they're going to use our brand, they're going to use our name or something that sounds like our name, and it's going to put our brand at risk. So I can see where they're kind of coming from, because sometimes internally in a company, you let yourself get worked up over what I see as kind of small things that could actually become something better for your brand marketing if you utilize the opportunity. But you get these big lawyers in, and the lawyers, it's like a doctor in a hospital. Like, the lawyer's there to assess your risk and do what's going to protect you most,
surgical
right?
about it.
Yeah, so they're just very like, it's black and white. Well, it is very gray actually, but like, not maybe black and white's not the best term, but it's just, they have a very clear view. They're there to protect your brand. So if we sat here and took trademark lawyers' advice the entire time, they would always side with the brand.
It's true.
Because that when you trademark a brand name, you trademark the name, you trademark the sound of the name, and you trademark a logo. So that's what they will have.
And I think, interestingly, what Patagonia, the company, are suing for isn't for Pattie to stop using the name in performances and stuff, but I think Patagonia filed for a trademark to sell merch with Patagonia on it. And that is where company is now like, well, that's too close for comfort to our brand. And I think there was even something about the clothing being in a style that was like maybe nodding to the Patagonia clothing brand.
Actually, they gave her 3 issues that they had a problem with. One of them being that in certain instances, Pattie had used something that kind of looked like their logo, but with Patagonia, the name. But Pattie has gone on saying, I will stop doing that. But their key issue, and the thing that Pattie won't back down from, is that the registered trademark name of Patagonia selling on like t-shirts and clothing. And Patagonia, the brand, has an issue with that. And I don't really understand, because Pattie is not saying that, they're going to use the logo.
Also, I was checking out Patagonia's merch. It's all sold out at the moment, so
of course,
good for Pattie.
Of course it is.
But I actually remember looking at it maybe a year ago or something, when I first started hearing about Patagonia, and she was really all over my feed, because she was doing this 100-mile hike across California to raise money, raise $1 million. 100-mile hike in drag, heels and all, right? So I remember checking out the merch then, and it's all secondhand t-shirts that are being redesigned with, it's super sustainable, and so it's not even the same sort of business model as Patagonia, who are creating this outdoor.
This is the other side of things that I think where Patagonia is the brand is missing out on the opportunity, is to partner with Pattie.
This is what I'm saying.
And make the most out of it, because Pattie and Patagonia, they go hand in hand. Pattie, they really help, with getting underprivileged people, underrepresented groups into climate activism,
100%.
into understanding the social and environmental impact that's happening in our world. And Patagonia could really step up, partner with Pattie, and make the most of it, but they're choosing not to.
And Pattie is an incredible communicator. We need more of these people who can go out and rally people behind the cause. And this is almost the snake eating its tail. I thought that immediately. Why are they not collabing?
It feels very corporate, their approach, because I worked in corporate for a long time, and this is the thing you do. You get your lawyers in, everyone freaks out, and then you're just shut it down, shut it down, shut it down. And the trademark lawyers are you can partner, but you put your self-risk at there. But it's Patagonia is known as a brand for taking risks.
They're very progressive.
It used to be the disruptor.
Yeah,
so Patagonia was the disruptor.
Sorry, go ahead, Ash.
Yeah, that was my point.
But isn't their whole business model, all of the profits go into some trust for the world or something? They're already quite progressive in the way that they have.
They gave all their shares to a trust that looks after the planet, essentially, right? So they're, they are really progressive. And so I find it super surprising that this is the approach they've decided to take with a, LGBTQ environmental activist.
With 3 million followers.
Tons of followers, with a big influence. It's really changing the world. And they could really make the most out of this, but instead they decide to go to corporate war, which is just so unlike them.
I think that there is hope for this situation, actually. I've been seeing them go back and forth about it, but I think now all of the sort of public scrutiny and pressure is going to maybe help shift this towards a better outcome for Pattie, because ultimately most people do not think it's a good idea to be suing her.
Well, Patagonia is not the disruptor anymore. It's the establishment. Do you know what I mean? It's become
activist versus establishment.
Yeah, and to be honest, Patagonia's had a couple issues in the last couple years about not releasing like how many styles they make every year and things like that. And it's like this is all compounding one after another, and it's really like it's disintegrating their brand in a way.
I agree. I don't want to buy Patagonia anymore after this.
Yeah.
I really feel that way.
I was thinking that as well.
I think a
Not
lot
that
of
I
people
shopped there before anyways, to be fair, I don't go hiking, but
yeah, but I mean, it's become a fashion brand, right?
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be good quality, but actually, like when a brand doesn't match your values, like you start to go a bit like ew on it.
yeah, it's so true.
Yeah, I've got the ick.
Yeah. Oh,
I have got the ick.
they're getting voted off the island.
Exactly.
Okay, amazing. All right, so I think, actually before we go, I just want to say one more thing. I'm really obsessed with Lena Dunham at the moment because I loved Girls, and obviously she's been back in the news a lot lately. And I was listening to her on Good Hang yesterday, and she was saying that part of the like uniform for a film director is a Patagonia medium weight, not lightweight vest. So I wonder if Lena Dunham is gonna rethink that now. She can set the trend with a new brand.
Yeah,
And what are all those finance bros going to do?
Oh, fuck that.
They'll probably still wear it.
They love their gilets, don't they? All right, guys. Well, this has been so amazing.
I loved it.
So happy to have you guys back here. We're at South by Southwest London. So cool. I think we should do more of these. What do you think?
Absolutely.
Agree. Give us your news stories. What do you want us to talk about and debate?
Yes. It will be back on your feed really soon, I hope. Thanks, guys, for listening. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Thanks.
Thanks again for tuning into this week's episode of Ethically Questionable. For more info, thoughts, ideas, conversation starters, you can follow me, your host Jamila, at Jamila Faye.